recording is on.
Very good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting of the Borough of Peapack and Gladstone. That is Tuesday, November 26, 2024. It is now 7 o'clock p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Nancy, will you please read the sunshine notice?
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the 2024 meeting dates was published in the Courier News and the Burnsville News on December 5th, 2023, and posted at the Municipal Complex and the Borough Library. Action may be taken.
Before we do flag salute, if anybody has their cell phone and it's not muted, please do so now with respect to this meeting. And please stand and join me in the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Portello?
Here.
Councilman Silva?
Here.
Councilwoman Sueda?
Here.
Council President Sweeney?
Here.
Councilwoman Weibel? Here. Mayor Corleone?
Here. Let's go to public comments on non-agenda items. At the microphone, name and address, please. And these are items that you wish to address the council on that are not on the agenda.
Hi, my name is Christopher Downing, and I just had a question. I'm on the land use board.
Address?
I'm sorry?
Address.
My address is 99 Main Street, Peapack. I'm on the land use board, and the other day we had an application regarding APGAR, and the planning board attorney informed us that there's some type of capital improvement project that's supposed to happen next year, both on APGAR and maybe Hillcrest, I think is what I believe he said. And I just wanted to know, there were some questions from neighbors on APGAR asking if that capital improvement was going to enlarge the width of the road or put sidewalks in. And I just want to know if the borough could update me.
Sure. In our 3-year capital plan, we anticipated improving APGAR Avenue after the construction of the Bethel Ridge and 90-acre affordable housing developments at the end of APGAR. So in our 3-year plan, we budgeted money to improve APGAR Avenue, to include such things as curbing, possibly a sidewalk, and if necessary, widening. The scope of those has not been determined yet because we haven't budgeted for it yet. We just have it in a projection.
Okay, and I guess my final question related to that, is there any idea, again, it hasn't been in the budget, but there is a possible connection between Hillcrest and APGAR? Is that on the table at all?
It's never been talked about, at least since I've been a council member.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Everybody have a happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving.
You as well. Thank you.
Chris. You don't want popcorn if you're leaving? Anyone else? Okay, let's close public comment on non-agenda. Let's move on to old business. Eric, tennis courts.
Okay, so since we last met, Bill Ryden has come back and given some preliminary estimates and ideas of sort of what they think the cost is for the tennis courts, refurbishing and replacing an existing Conline Park, or putting them here as municipal, and as well as including pickleball in both locations. For some reason, pickleball, if municipal, is slightly less expensive than putting pickleball at Conline. It's more expensive there. I don't know why there'd be any difference. Neither exists today. But either way, I think the numbers that we've seen from Bill are low from estimates we've had previously just to repair the courts. So I don't quite want to focus the conversation on the cost. As you guys know, we've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars this year alone with acquisition of land through open space and rec. We have plenty of money in those funds for projects like this. We already have $300,000 from capital this year allocated for it. So I think the right decision for us to make at the council, unless anyone disagrees, is more so where is the right location for them, and then move forward with getting a bid for what that is in the right location. So I want to have really a consensus on where, as a council, do we think long term is the right spot for these courts to be.
So for me, and I don't disagree with you that Bill's numbers historically have sort of been a little low and possibly are low for this project. But I guess my biggest interest is the differential between the two. What's the cost here versus what's the cost there?
And also, what's the cost of doing, our own separate pickleball court versus if we just wanted to paint and have both, you know, because a lot of courts have just the painting. But again, I mean, I know there was some talk about being startled that it was such a big differential to move it from Comline to here. But to me, honestly, it makes a lot of sense that, you know, we were from scratch here versus we still have some of the base, we'd be able to reuse some of the base. I understand we would do a ton to Comline, don't get me wrong. But between reusing the base and not having to pay for the demolition and removal of material that you can't just put in a hole somewhere, it doesn't, I mean, to me, it seems realistic that it would be nearly twice as expensive. And I know in your email you mentioned that you didn't think it would be. What, I was wondering, I was curious why.
So the sloping and grading of both lots relatively the same. Yes, we have an addition structure there, but it's beyond repair right now, so that has to be taken out.
Let me, if I could,
Yeah, go ahead.
if I could. What Bill's projection for Comline was basically, I think, 2 to 3 inches of milling, and then, resurfacing on top of that. When 2 years ago, I think it was, when we met with one of the vendors, they weren't talking about a milling and paving project. They were talking about completely from scratch. So I think that's part of the differential in the numbers. And so my question would be whether milling and paving, based on what we heard from the vendor, it would be the appropriate method to rehabilitate the courts at Comline. Because I think that's where the numbers, where your disconnect comes from on those numbers.
It is. It's a different approach, right? Which one is right? You know, again, long term, I don't want to be doing this 8, 9 years from now again, right? I want to do it. I'm a big believer in spending the money, doing it right the first time, having the right product, maintaining it properly going forward, and then having it last a lifetime, right? Versus, oh, it was there, so the easy decision is just to say, let's keep it there. To me, that's just the easy way out, is say, let's leave it where it is and patch it. I'll be very upset if we land on that decision, and then, you know, 8, 9 years from now, we're right back here talking about, you know, what do we do with that situation? Because then that's.
Well, I don't think we'd be in this situation if we had maintained the courts appropriately. I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, I don't disagree with you. If I was on this council 10 years ago or whenever they made the decision, I would have thought over here would have been better too. But now that it's there, we've established some parking, people use it. I don't think it's a horrible location. And if now we know, after we had meetings with the, you know, various vendors and so forth, now we know it was really our mistake to not maintain it. So I just think it's a little bit apples to oranges, because it's not like it's fallen apart purely based on the patient, right? It fell apart because we didn't take care of it.
Correct. Well, I don't know how much that has anything to do with water runoff and everything there. That it does.
And that's another disconnect, because
right, because Bill is like, it's absolutely nothing to do with that.
He said it wasn't water.
No, it's not water.
I mean, he said it. He didn't say it wasn't water. I'm sorry, but he said it's like that's the reality of any tennis court, because it's flat. Water falls on it. Some is going to run off. The majority is going to sit there because it's level, as a tennis court is. It's flat. And so again, that's when he said we have to care for it appropriately every season. I forget, pre-thaw, post-thaw, whatever it was. You have to fix any little cracks.
Yeah, it should be done annually and as needed.
Right.
Annually at a minimum, and then as needed.
Yeah. But again, in our meetings, Bill was like, no matter where you put it, it's the same problem. Because it's flat surface without roof.
So let me chime in here. And I have something to talk to you about regarding this, but I'm going to do it in my mayor's report and see what later. An asphalt tennis court has a useful life of 10 to 15 years. It's not like we did not, as far as maintaining it, yes, some cracks could have been filled with filler, but the fact of the matter is it's out in the open. It does not get the car traffic on it like the regular asphalt does, and it broke up. Okay? And that is the nature of an asphalt tennis court. We put an inexpensive option tennis court in when we did that 10 years ago. Okay? There is another solution which I'll talk to you about later in the meeting, that I believe is going to be the right solution for us. It's going to be very costly, but it's going to be the right solution. And I'll get to that later, and you'll see why. As far as location goes, I voted on it. I was a new councilman 1 month in. Yeah, let's spend this, okay. It sounds like a good thing, let's put tennis courts in. In hindsight, if I had known how it was gonna be built and where it was gonna be built, I would have never wanted to vote for it to be in Conway Park. It's out in the middle of the field, it's not really close to the parking. The field is typically wet, it's not a pleasant place to go play. It's beautiful park, but it's not, suited to, it's not situated in the park optimally. I think it's much better located back here. And I think it can be done in such a way where you do the solution that I learned about in Atlantic City. And it has a coating on it, keeps it quiet, and it will look very nice, and it has a guarantee of 20 years. Okay? And that should be done here. As far as the delta between the two, I really don't think we should be considering that. We were very blessed to have 3 large properties acquired as part of our open space program, paid 99% of the payment coming from outside sources. And we have money in our open space and recreation trust fund to do replacement tennis courts right. So I don't want to see us nickel and dime it. Let's do it right, get it done, and we'll have a lasting asset. And that's my opinion.
You know, I don't think this is nickel and diming it. I mean, there's already a consensus that these estimates are probably lower than they should be. It's going to be if the delta between the two projects is going to get wider, it's assuming that the increase in cost is proportional to do these courts. If he's incorrect, if he's 20% too low on Conway and he's 20% too low here, that delta gets wider.
When I say nickel and diming, I'm referring to an asphalt court. Okay, which in 10 years, we said it, you said it, we're going to be back here again with the issue. With the floors are deteriorating.
Right, I mean, don't get me wrong, if we have a professional say, oh, absolutely, an asphalt this and whatever your surface you're talking about is twice that, I totally agree. I don't wanna spend good money after bad, or whatever the saying is. To ignore the differential, to me, is a mistake. And to say, oh, we saved on some open space projects and now we have X money in our coffers, I also think is a mistake. It's just because I save money on land preservation doesn't mean I'm just gonna kind of willy-nilly spend it on something else.
I'm not suggesting it would willy-nilly, I'm suggesting that we have the funds to do the project right. And if we end up going with an alternate solution other than asphalt at Conway, they're gonna be ripped out anyway, so the cost to do it there and the cost to do it here is gonna be pretty much the same.
I mean, no disrespect, but are you a professional, like, I mean, do you know that, because when I've met with like 3 different tennis court people 2 years ago, and they all basically said we'd have to take 2/3 of the material off the top and then do the top layers, and I can't imagine that the base layers of the surface you're talking about are gonna be that different.
It is different.
Okay, I would love to see just some data.
I'll get to it. If you want, I'll present it right now.
Well, it probably makes sense. I mean, if you
Yeah.
have something that you learned about last week,
All right.
if it ties.
So I have some things from Atlantic City, but I was gonna do them all at once, I'll do this one.
And some pins too. Big
Big
bucks.
So when I was in Atlantic City, I learned about this solution. Okay, this is a company called Classic Turf. And the product that they install is a post-stress concrete tennis court. And what they mean by post-stress is they run cables through it, and they pour the concrete, then they tighten the cables up, they do the concrete extremely strong. He cited 6 or 7 courts like this in this area that they have installed. Okay? Not a good picture of this. Now, you know what, I'll hand this out. They warranty this product for 20 years. It is a unique product. And in order to make it nice on top, they then coat it with a rubberized surface. And that has, and I'm forgetting, it was either a 10 or 15-year warranty. So this is a product that will last.
How much more is it more expensive than asphalt?
He said a minimum of 20% more than asphalt, but you gotta figure this is gonna be 40% more than asphalt at least. Okay? I'll hand this out, you can look at it. I was very impressed by it when they actually had a section of concrete and they showed how they pre-stressed it. And I was very impressed by it. But I would ask you to learn more about this and go see one, because I saw pictures of the ones that were in this area. And it seemed
Where,
like a
do
lot
you
of them.
know, where?
I didn't write them down, I was walking around, but.
Nancy or Steve, do we have what issues do I run into reaching out to them outside of the
Well,
process?
you will have an issue if they are the only ones that do that type of thing here in New Jersey or here when you go out to bid, because then you're putting in a specific thing that you want, so you're limiting it to how many bids you can get. And if there's only one person that does it here,
Well, it may be a unique product though, too, which could have.
They could have multiple licenses in the area, wouldn't that be okay? If they had franchises, I mean, they could, or authorized dealers.
Well, we don't know if they're the only provider or not.
right, we don't know, but if they are,
But that would be acceptable if they were like an authorized dealer that would.
I don't think
Or
they're
right,
right.
or he's the manufacturer and they have.
And what sets them apart is the difference between pre-stress concrete and post-stress concrete. And I like the idea that it comes with a warranty, okay, and I like the idea that it passes.
So Mark,
It has a slope for drainage too.
if the
50,
warranty
30,
is 20 years and they do and the rubberization, you mentioned
10.
the coating is,
10 or 15.
10 or 15,
Post-stress.
does that mean that there's something that ultimately ends up getting sprayed on there or something, or?
Yes, I don't know how they apply the rubberized coating, but yes, it's applied to it. It could be a liquid that they spray on and it dries.
And so then after 10 years, say they come in and are they
They
the
renew.
only ones that can redo that?
I don't know, you'd have to ask.
Okay.
Sergio is familiar with the
So-
Western schools.
And I agree with the mayor as well. So interesting enough, you were, the convention was in Atlantic City, correct? So Atlantic City High School was actually one of the first high schools in the state of New Jersey to implement the post-stress tennis courts. They usually are because they have the most funding around the state and they get state-of-the-art facilities, whether it's athletic or tennis. They do come with a bigger warranty. They do cost more. Regardless, when you look from a state bidding point, if you get 3 bids, the lowest bid, regardless of post-stress, and they are a monopoly in terms of cutting edge. There's only 1 or 2 companies that currently does this in the Northeast, I believe. Schools are looking for essentially 20% more over 10 more years is a great deal. And that's what schools are looking at, and they do resurface. I think it's every 3-4 years they come in, and they do have a small pitch that's minimal. That water does run off and doesn't just sit there because most schools don't have the maintenance or the groundskeepers to maintain every time it rains or snows, because there's a lot of maintenance involved with tennis courts. But interestingly enough, that is why they were at that convention, because I think that one of the first high schools to implement it was Atlantic City High School. So, and I can research to see what other schools in the area might have them.
There were at least
They do-
6 or 7
They do the same thing
local
with tracks.
ones that
So,
they-
You're more likely to see them with tracks, probably.
And they do raise a lot of these tennis courts. They raise it 3-4 inches above ground level, just to prevent a lot of the wear and tear. Some of them, newer ones, you actually see French drains, almost like a gutter system around it to collect it and put it away. So there's different methods. It just depends on, number one, the location. That's important. And two, anytime you go into a capital project like this, as all of you know, there's always bumps and bruises, and a lot of times the soil might not be able to handle it. I'm not sure if the soil has been tested. That's another key point in terms of long-term. So that's just my small information piece I have, and tracks are now. I'll even go into turfs. Turfs nowadays, old school, about 5-6 years ago, they were rubberized, old school recycled tires. Now they have actually gone to cork because it's better on what they call impact testing for concussions. The only negative side to it, like anything else, it's great for kids. Concussion levels drops at a high rate. Actually, I was involved in one of the first ones ever here. But the lopside is, anytime it rains, it's buoyant and it runs off the track, off the fields. So our maintenance workers have to blow it back on, and now you're wasting capital money on hours. So with everything, there's pros and cons. So
And by the way, there is an option of putting this on top of your old court in certain circumstances.
interesting.
Yeah. they use the old court as a big, do something to it, they use it as a base. But I thought this was an intriguing possibility.
I like the fact that it's a warranty for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of making a better court, but then I think it just opens the door to reach out to this company and have them do an assessment of like, what would it cost here and what would it cost there?
And
We
real
gotta
quick,
be careful with that.
real quick,
Keep in
with
mind, if you
also,
put it on top of the old tennis courts at Town Line, it's gonna raise the tennis court height 6 inches, which would take a lot of it.
in regards to the location, one of the residents here, did like a survey and gave a survey to me. And there are a few people on the survey, it's interesting now to look at, a few people actually had an idea of having the pickleball courts here at the municipal building, and then having the tennis court stay at Home Line, just, they don't all have to be married together, perhaps, just an idea, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, you've talked about that.
I did,
Yeah.
because also to talk about the sport courts too. that
Yeah.
We had mentioned, because that's an option. Should you do like sport courts here with the pickleball, and then you keep the tennis court at the Comm Line?
Yeah.
Again, where's the right spot for the tennis court? That's the big thing that we have to determine,
Yeah.
and then from there, I mean, and can we assess both? Okay, hey, let me call
I
Oscar Turf up and say.
I would keep Comm Line in the conversation for it, and before there was Comm Line, people were going over to Comm Line. Sanderson, the factory where there are tennis courts that are even in worse shape than our courts.
There's tennis courts over there?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people who want to play tennis will go to where the tennis court is. So, I mean, I wouldn't poo-poo the location. And I do like that idea of the pickleball courts, you know, maybe being placed up here, if we can keep the tennis courts at Town Line.
Yeah, I love that idea.
I also feel like the drawings with the tennis courts and the pickleball courts all right here seemed a little congested to me. Seemed like
When
a
you
little-
go into the gym and you look at the line, it gets confused, it can be confusing.
Yeah. it's a
Where
little-
where they've got
Well,
it back
that
down.
was one of the things that, Dan found out from other, towns, that having the pickleball and the tennis, all the lining all on the same thing becomes very confusing, and then you're moving,
That's,
nets.
Yeah.
The cost for
Back
pickle
and
is not so great that it should be separate, right? Because at the same time, I don't want people who are playing tennis, people who want to play pickle, now they have to wait until they, you know,
No.
Right.
people should be able to play both sports at the same time.
You don't want to
Pickleball
start a
is
feud
established
between the
enough.
two
Yeah.
different
It's not
sports.
going away.
Yeah.
Football players,
It deserves its
they
own
don't
word.
like the dual strike courts. They're confusing, especially for older people, a lot of older people play pickleball. They don't like it. And, they can be confusing. So, I think if we're gonna do this, we need 2 separate courts.
Okay.
And one thing, Dan, I'd like to mention to you is not having a permanent net, because if they're here at the facility for a rec, summer rec, he can use it for other things as well. So if it didn't have a permanent net.
The pickleball that is?
That's what you can talk to him about it, or
Okay.
he had more, he might have more insight on it, but he wanted me to mention that to you.
Okay.
Just because they will have different uses in the summertime for the kids at camp.
Yeah, I would think taking the nets out should be important, they shouldn't be permanently fixed.
Right,
nets.
exactly.
And they are, most of them are portable, you cap them
Okay,
essentially.
cap it,
Yeah.
make it fit, yeah.
And it just becomes an all utility. You just want to make sure they're not playing hockey out there or anything like
Right,
this.
or skating, it
Right,
kind of tears
exactly.
it up. It's another thing I'll think about is signs.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is a consensus that we'd like to look at putting pickle here and keep tennis in common. Is that, I mean, or do people feel strongly one way? I just really want to get a consensus.
That's where I'm leaning.
I'm
Okay,
leaning
Jamie's
right.
leaning that way. John, which way are you leaning? Same way?
I'd rather have
Joe?
pickle up here.
I'm leaning that way.
I actually would like to see, I think, pickleball and tennis closer to here.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been over to Comm Line when it rains.
All the time. I have
It's-
to walk my dog in the kitchen, so.
I mean, I just think that for some reason that area just seems so much wetter than most areas. It just feels like it's pooling over there.
You know what, caveat to that, I mentioned it to you before, but with the construction for the Smith property, we're looking at a swale going in, and it would be above the tennis courts.
Oh.
So it would actually make that,
It would help dry that out there.
it could help dry it out.
That,
Okay.
that's
No,
good.
make it wetter.
No,
The swell that's going over there is taking water from the other side and bringing it down to there.
No, but it would kind of cross to catch it from coming down the hill.
No,
downhill.
it's designed to catch it on the borough-owned Green Acres piece of property on the right when you drive in, so it doesn't run down into the development and divert it over to the right side into Comline.
I thought it was diverting it below that to the brook.
No, that's not what they were planning.
Putting here as well.
We need to clarify that. Because if it's gonna make the area wetter, that's.
Here's the road going in, here's the tennis courts over here, here's the development right here.
Mhm.
They wanted to put a swale so it captures the water here and draws it here as well. And then I asked, what about the roadway? He said, oh, we can put a.
But the tennis courts would be over here.
Tennis courts are here.
It would still go around. I thought it was
We
going
ran the
around.
swale past them. Yeah. And it's like,
We're back.
I gotta tell you, we do decide to leave the tennis courts on Comline, which is fine with me. My preference is both.
That's my preference
I
as
agree
well.
with that.
However, if we do end up leaving the tennis courts, I think we should consider relocating them on Comline to another portion of the Comline lot. That's more convenient to people who drive their tennis. If we do end up leaving them. And not in their exact same position.
And they built those parking spots right
Yeah.
by it. I guess I don't understand. Where would you move it?
The first place I think of is when you drive in on the non-Green Acres property to the right of the easement going up to the common house. So kind of.
To the right of the driveway?
Yeah.
So that.
Like where we did the drive-in movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you drive in and you head up the easement to where the helicopter pad is, to the right of that. That way it's more convenient, it's a drier spot. Okay, it's more convenient to parking, because remember, the parking that's there now is kind of going away. That's all gonna be reconfigured when they put the affordables in. Apple Avenue is being extended.
Well, then I feel like we need to see some images of what's, because I don't think we've really seen a final draft of, or I mean, we're not on that land use, so I haven't seen them, how that area is gonna change with the Bethel Bridge project.
It's gonna be different.
I mean, the point I would make too,
The
if
roads
we're
are
gonna,
gonna be where they existed.
if we're gonna leave them in Comline but completely relocate them, I mean, I'm already a proponent to put them here and have everything here in one location. You know,
I also think we'll take care of them better when they're here. This can fall under the responsibility of the building manager.
we should be taking care of them regardless of where they are.
Agreed.
So, I mean, going forward, that will be the case, doesn't matter where they are, they'll get well maintained.
They were out in the middle of nowhere and they were ignored.
Yeah. But again, to that point too, I still feel, you know, if someone's get injured or whatever, it's better to be here than if you're out there by yourself, let's just say. You know, at least here, there's traffic, there's people coming by.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I just think long-term best use for all residents, it just makes sense to be here at municipal. When you look at most at Warren or Basket Ridge or Long Hill, all those facilities are all at the municipal complex, consolidated. They don't have things scattered about.
I like the idea of a sportsplex. I like the idea that the children's program in the summer can make use of that. Those facilities, I like those ideas.
So I mean, right now, we're sort of split, 3 in favor to, you know, move it, keep it in Comline and do pickle here, and then 3 in favor to put everything here. So I'm not
I'm
sure.
a soft vote, just so you know.
Well, I was saying in terms of, you know, deciding, for me to contact people, we need a little bit.
What is it, Switzerland?
Well, have we voted?
I mean, I can call for it.
No.
Well,
Can you poll?
You just did.
So we have a split poll.
We have 3.5.
No, it's not.
I'm kidding.
You actually get a fourth vote.
I think Eric has some research to do. He has to, you know, put some rough numbers together and come back to us and then we make that decision.
Okay, I will do that.
I
And
think
I'll
the other
look into
thing
this.
that's good is that, you know, you can have children here that are participating in a rec program and their parents are playing pickleball or tennis while, you know, they're here participating in something. So they're right here, they're not off somewhere else, so.
Okay, so I will take the action. I will learn more about this specific product. I'll see how many vendors there may be that do it, learn more about that. And then, but I can't get quotes.
No.
No. So,
I guess maybe you could maybe you could find out, like, hey, we have an existing dilapidated asphalt court, can you use any of that, does it change the cost? Just to get an idea of, again, for me, that delta is important.
It's a factor to be considered, for sure. I can be hypothetical when asking of scenarios. I want to do on the up and up, I just,
Yeah.
By the way, one other point to this vendor. When I saw their marquee, and I went up to them to talk to them, I said, we have these tennis courts that are deteriorating, we need to do something with them. He said, let me be, just like this, no kidding, let me guess, they're about 10 years old and they're asphalt. That's what he said to me. They know that they don't hold up.
Mark, if they were at the league, they must have been able to install tennis courts at other municipalities. How did they get away with it, with getting a bid?
They went up for a bid.
Every town needs to go out for a bid.
I
When
know,
you're
but
going
you're
over-
saying it's hard to get an estimate because they're the only specialized in this particular thing. There must be
Right, when you're doing the bid, if we do the bid that says we want specifically what this is,
Okay.
then
You
we're
want
going,
post-stress concrete.
right, then we are just giving it to one person or two people that
Oh,
can come
you should
out.
know.
I thought there was only one vendor that wasn't exceptional, like,
Washington Hills.
way back in the day when they started with the field turf. Field turf was the company that did all the fields originally.
If they have a state contract, it's a different story. And Field Turf might have had a state contract. I didn't see anything when I looked at that really quick that they said that they had a state contract.
That might be the first question, but if they ask them, and if you get a yes, that kind of frees you up to ask whatever else you want.
Right.
Okay.
Because the state contract, we still, because of the amount it is, we still need to get two other quotes, but we can go out for a quote.
And what about sole source? Go ahead. Meaning they're the only ones who do it in the Northeast.
That's what the field turf was, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
That's, nowadays, it's much harder. Even though it might be only a sole source, because of the amount of money it's going to be, it is much harder. The pay to play, the state has made things a lot harder with.
Look, these people have done it in 6, 8 towns around here. I'm sure they know the terrain in New Jersey. I'm not addressing.
I mean, you can put out there, you can also put in the bid that you're looking for, this is what you're looking for, and it can be the post-stress concrete. Like, it can be either or. You can put that in the bid. So it makes it that you're not, because you're not comparing then apples to apples when you're doing it, but if you put that in the bid.
I've got marching orders on this. I will revert back.
Thank you.
I'll bring it back to you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you for finding the solution. Sergio was saying they put it in their school system 10 years ago, so it's
So
Would you have it in yours?
Yes,
This exact system?
Exactly.
And what's your experience?
amazing, still looks great. It was 10 years, a decade ago, actually, to the day. It was put in the same time our turf was put in. I just didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, a different.
Cat said thanks.
And is it on
Yeah.
the website?
It's on the website.
Sergio, the superintendent is the same person.
It is, same company.
I
already invited
Ask them
them to go.
about, what they did about the bidding.
Absolutely.
Was it painted or was it rubberized coated?
You got me. I don't know. But they have come in once and they actually do fulfill their warranty. They have come in, filled in 1 or 2 cracks. And it's actually was done this year in terms of, I'm not sure if it was painted.
There might not be as much maintenance with this, because if there's a warranty, if we do our own work on it, you might void the warranty. So you might have to call them in.
We did power wash it this year, in August. And it wasn't a traditional power washer. It looked like a power washer, almost like a scrubber, like a floor glosser. It had 3. You just kind of went around, and it's fairly simple. Our maintenance works. I'm sorry? Yeah, it's like the same. You're right, exactly. It's like a Zamboni for tennis courts, correct?
Okay, Eric, geese.
All right, geese.
2025.
Yeah, so, back to this lovely topic. Geese are back, as you guys have seen. We started with 5, we're now up to 31. Hopefully they will make their way on out. We reviewed the contract to re-up with the USDA. And I'm gonna say that all non-lethal measures, right, Their contract starts in March and it expires in October. They come once every other week.
Until the summer, and then they come every week.
And they come every week, okay.
Right,
So-
until the summer, and then they come every week, starting in March to, I think, the beginning of June, or May, June, then they start coming every week.
And that's also too for the addling and all that as well.
Right. It's March is every other week for the apple,
Okay.
and looking for the nesting.
That cost is a little over $18,352. We've looked at, throughout the process last spring, we were approached by several geese preventative companies. One of them, Brad, also shared their pricing called Geese Chasers. They have a different fee structure based on if you do X amount of weeks or if you just sign up with an annual contract. An annual contract is the full year, all 52 weeks of the year, multiple visits per week, and as needed, if there's geese there, they're on demand. When you do the annual contract, it also includes add-on of the eggs. That amount is $14.75 a month or $17,700 for the year. So it's actually slightly cheaper than the USDA, and you get, I think, much more service out of it. The issue we're having right now is the contract's expired, we have this influx of geese, and there's nothing we can really do except for Brad's team to, maybe, if they have time to move them around. In this case, I think if we went with Geese Chasers, save a little bit of money, get the same level of care with the addling and all that, but get the full duration of the year with more visits than what we would get.
I'd rather not wait till March to start the process.
The other thing with them,
There you go, there you go. So,
the other thing with them.
I have it as well.
With Geese Chasers, though, they are only using the dogs, correct?
No, they use laser, they use the dogs, and they can use kayak. It's to the persuader's discretion is what I don't know what the person's called, but
Okay.
whatever that role is called, that person's
Okay.
discretion.
So let me ask, first of all, I understand that in the $18,000 number was 4,000 or 5,000 for fencing. Am I correct, Nancy?
It was almost 5,000,
Almost 5,000,
4,900.
which we would never do fencing around the pond.
No.
So the AUSDA is really $13,000
Okay.
versus whatever Geese Chasers is. Does Geese Chasers spray? Is that included?
I don't know,
Okay.
but it's something our DPW.
We just spent $1,600 on spray. If the spray is included in these numbers, it certainly makes a lot of sense.
I mean, just the differential on January, February, March, October, November, December, I would think for $4,000 more, that's the case for twice the amount of coverage. And not only that, USDA is once every other week until March or June, where Geese Chasers is multiple times a week, every single week, all year long.
That's very compelling.
I mean, that in and of itself, that's the issue we're having right now.
I
We
also-
don't have a resource.
I also don't see the USDA as quite as responsive. When they're there, we want them chased.
Correct.
We don't want to wait 2 days to chase them because then they get a little too comfortable. The grass gets a little bit thinner.
Mm-hmm. And Geese Chaser says they'll be out there same day when you call, depending on the time you call. But
There is within an hour.
yeah,
For whatever it's worth, I did meet these choices in Atlantic City.
of course you did.
The franchise order was there, and the franchisee, I don't know if it was South Jersey or North Jersey, but there was some franchisee there. In fact, his name might be on the back of that. I can't tell you, I was overwhelmed by that. For whatever it's worth, you need to interview them on your own,
Okay.
all right? And they
But
can.
to me, I really don't care about interviewing the Geese Chasers per se. I would want to know what the experience of some of the towns.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think that's really the way to go.
But they said, well, we kind of come out 3 times a week, but if they're not there, we really don't come out. It was it wasn't structured as much as I thought it would be.
Well, I have to see what the contract
Yes,
looks
yes,
like, right?
But I want to know what people's experiences are.
Yeah, so I want to see who they work with and what's the success of those towns. But if I had to lean one direction right now, just for form of coverage throughout the year, I would lean with a non-USDA option because most of the non-USDA ones that I've seen, it's full year coverage. To me, that's important.
Well, we're out of the USDA term and we have these two.
Yep.
And that could be very compelling.
And I would have loved to have had them come out there last weekend or the weekend before, when somebody sent me a text about there being 30 of them in the park.
Yeah. They were calling all their friends. I was watching it happen every day I drive by, and I was like,
Yeah,
really?
you shouldn't have given them your cell phone.
So I will, I think we should move with a non-USDA solution, but I will also get some testimonial from users on that.
Any thought at all about changing any of the landscaping or the type of grass that's there? It seems like they really like that type of grass.
It's not,
It's not
the
the
grass
grass.
they don't like is the grass you're not, but nobody else, humans won't like.
Oh,
Because we're
okay.
talking, the way it was presented when we met with the landscape architect
Mhm.
from the New Jersey Animal Protection League, is the grass would be 9 inches high. It'd be like the rough over
Right.
at St. Andrews.
Yep.
And the
Yeah,
reason they
it's
don't like it is because
Because nobody likes it.
It's like thistle, like
Yeah.
It's barbed grass that has to be like 9 to 12 inches high.
And
Okay.
that's
you wouldn't,
actually the
you wouldn't
plan
want to sit
for
on
the
it. They don't want to eat
islands,
it.
is
Right.
determined by, so on Brad's team in the fall has been working, if you notice, the islands look great. Brad, you and the team have done a great job on that. And they're planting to deter them from being on the islands as well, which includes that. But the rest of the park, it's meant to be a manicured park for
Right.
people to enjoy. So we don't want 9-inch tall grass. And then the same problem before we had with the APL is, well, then we have to have all the neighboring. And Anthony, I'm sure you don't want to put that grass in your yard either. So it's, that's the problem you have.
I mean, if we pave over the ball fields with tennis courts and pickleball, that's less food for me too.
There you go. You're making another point to put it up here. But, so yes, we're looking at that, but we've done that in other areas
Okay.
where it makes sense.
I'm sure you're supposed to see both sides.
Let me say this, when I spoke to Spring Lake this summer,
Notwithstanding your husband probably doesn't see both
Spring
sides.
Lake was one of the 2 first towns to euthanize bees in New Jersey. And the administrator, they now manage a bees population. And he said very clearly, he said, you have to manage it. He said, you're just not gonna spray and it's gonna go away. He said, you have to have someone out. We have a retired DPW employee who what's that, side job, comes here with his dog and chases them away 3 times a week. And he said that we also spray. We also have a radio controlled boat that they put in the pond and chase them away. And he said, this is gonna cost you, be prepared, in order to keep your place bees free. So,
Yep.
we're looking at an ongoing cost here.
Well, I think this is going to be an annual budget issue, one way or the other.
Yeah, no question.
It's important though, so if the existing flock is relocated, that's fantastic, right? And so now we just need to make sure that we don't get anyone else coming.
Yeah, we just don't want to, it's not permanent residents.
Right.
Which is why, if they're going to come, if they're going to show up after the USDA contract expired, then, then we're going to be paying the beast police to, on a per diem basis to come out and chase them, and that adds to the contract cost.
Okay.
So I will get some feedback from a couple of providers and I will, again, revert back. I have one other item to add to old business, if that's okay. Was it 6 weeks ago or so, I talked to you guys about the sport courts for the National Fitness Campaign.
Yep.
We also have a consensus that we were interested in that. I went ahead and applied and submitted the grant application. We were awarded $40,000 towards the grant. There's 2 versions of the court. One is basically half the size of the tennis court, which is that pure exercise type spot that I showcased to you all. The other is what's called a full court. It has a sport court plus then a secondary, it's basically the full size of a tennis court at that point. Half of it is the exercise, the other half is basically a flat area for classes, or outdoor yoga, or whatever, Tai Chi, whatever you want to do, it's an area for classes. The regular sport court is 170 or 175,000. And then we actually have a $4,000 grant that we'll go to. It's about 130 grand for us to do that. The full court is 2 or 205. So it's about a $30,000 difference to do one or the other. We can obviously plan for it next year in the budget if we want to move forward. For us to accept the grant, I do need to get consensus from the council that we do want to move forward with this, that I can tell them, hey, yes, we want to do this, we're going to accept the grant, and we are going to allocate for it in our capital budget in 2025. I explained our budgeting process, the timeline. Obviously, it's different everywhere. They work nationally. So basically, I come back to council and say, hey, we've been awarded the grant. I think it's great. It's going to be a nice addition to the town. I'm not sure quite where we put it yet, that's another discussion. We'll go here or online perhaps, or schoolhouse maybe, you know, or other areas, I'm open to suggestions. But do you guys want to accept the grant and budget for it in capital this year?
And those are the two options, like basically half of a tennis court or a full tennis court.
Correct. And then there's another option, depending on which way you go, for the arts. You can either use art with their artists, or we can work with a local artist or things like that. It gets more expensive if we bring in our own artist, but we can obviously have it decorated to the look and feel of Peapack And Gladstone.
I like it. I think it's great. But then I would want the tennis courts and coal mines that would fit this make sense to be a
Yeah.
municipal court. So it'll kind of goes
Yeah,
hand in hand.
it's, I think it would, no, I'm gonna, by my time opinion, right? It would make sense to put the sport court here with the pickleball, and then keep, you know, the tennis courts
Because if we
where
put
they
two
are.
tennis courts
Yeah.
there on top of that, we're not
No,
gonna have a
it-
Well,
ball.
you can't fit everything there, that would be the option, right? So it's gonna go, wherever the tennis courts go, the sport court would go in the alternate location, basically.
Why
So-
wouldn't we consider?
So we're back to not eliminating town line again.
Correct.
You could put it
You
there as
can-
well.
There is another thing, when I was talking to the Green Acres people when they came in to visit a couple of weeks ago, if we do anything on Green Acres property, we have to get permission from them in order to put anything there. And with taking trees down over there, I was told pretty much that we
Public art
would be
pass.
told.
Across.
And I
we'd
mean, I
like the
just wanna keep
schoolhouse,
that,
yeah.
personally, I want that to be green space. I'm happy, I think that sounds pretty awesome, but I'd love that everything to be green on the other side of this road and keep the painted metals and the plastics and everything.
I can
around the
I'm with
completely
you.
agree, completely agree.
Yeah, I think that'd be great if there's space, or, I mean, I don't think there's space, but I was thinking, you know, the nicer, park here, like for the older kids, you know, there's the tot lot, and then there's this little park
one right
here.
here?
Yeah, like at the end of that, is there room down there, like to do it, like if we adjusted down there to have like,
I think it's like
Past the swings.
30 by
yeah,
40.
right?
You know what, my
Because at the end
There's a
there,
hill though, and
My-
then water
my-
runs down.
Yeah,
My
I know.
thought would be, again, with this concept in pickleball, is it's just get the right in the place, in my, on the survey. And, so we just get that visual of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, we kind of have it, right?
Mhm.
To take the tennis court, it'd actually be a quarter of that, right? Because that tennis court was 2 tennis courts plus pickle. To take a quarter of that, and that would be sport court and pickle, essentially.
So I have different feelings about this. I'll be very honest with you. First of all, awesome, $40,000, but we're talking about $175. We're talking about over $100,000 project. Long term, the way it looks, maintenance. I personally don't think it fits our town. How many people are actually going to use it? Where are we going to put it? There's a lot of variables attached to it. These things do rust. When we're talking about outdoor yoga, it sounds great if you're at Sandals Resort in St. Thomas. So we're talking about winter. Nobody's going to really use it. There's a lot of variables that I question. I love if it was maybe at a auxiliary high school or a rec center, which it could be. I just don't foresee it, and a lot of towns have actually taken them out because it caused problems with kids hanging on it, bending bars, and became more of
Are you
a,
thinking of the same product? There's only
Yes.
2 in New Jersey right now.
well, there's one in Greenbrook.
The one in Greenbrook is one, yes.
So the one in Greenbrook is located next to the water park. It's just different. I don't think it fits the Gladstone quaint small town feel. It's more of an industrial piece of equipment. But again, we could design it to. I don't think I'm ready right now to say yes to it because I need to see visuals, where it will go. There's a lot of variables that I think we need to look at least my opinion.
The big thing is where do we put it, right? And again, I bring it back with, we have 2 locations where we're using stuff today, both connected trail systems. So if we did it at Common, I put the court here, if we put it here, I put the court to Common, and so it's kind of the way I look at it, my opinion.
And I agree with Sergio, I mean, I don't think we'd ever really look into the one with the outdoor class space.
No, I think the regular, and again, for the extra 30 grand, it's more just a concrete pad, I don't see the use for that.
Yeah.
I'm just presenting all the options.
Yeah. And I
think
assume
the
we could
regular
paint
sport
it in a more subdued, not like hot,
court- It could be done
Right.
with nature mural on it, right? It doesn't have to be, I don't know what the one in Greenberg looks like.
Yeah, it's blue. I actually have pictures of that. I can send it to everyone.
I've seen all different artwork.
Yeah.
The ones on the website.
And they have different, they have bench presses, and they're basically hydraulic bench presses. They have hydraulic shoulder presses. And those just, they break, people don't know how to use them. How is it from a liability perspective in terms of just random people working out that we don't know what they're doing? So there's an educational component to it as well. So I'm just kind of looking at it from.
I have a problem with that, doing something like a bench press that's not gonna be supervised, because.
Yeah, kids are bouncing on it, using it as a trampoline.
Or even if they're trying to use it the way it's supposed to be used, they can hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great idea. It really is.
Having that type of equipment though.
Yeah, the one in Greenbrook has like a tent station. You go from station to station, and you work out, upper body, lower body.
But this one is more like stationary, like we have it like around like a trail where you do a pull-up or you do a dip or.
Yes, and they do have that.
At least the one that we're presented with doesn't have mechanical movement.
And that's why maybe I need more information. I'm not opposed to it. And so Leonia in Bergen County has the same type of setup where it's, you have the park's name, and you basically run like a quarter mile or 200 meters, and there's a pull-up station. Mm-hmm. And so that might be something better along the trail system, and
They have something like that in New Providence too. They have a running trail where they have exercise equipment along.
Right.
They have that in Pleasant Valley Park in Baton Rouge too, along the trail there. It's a balance beam, a pull-up bar, a dip, whatever it's called, I don't know. But yeah, they've got different stations there. Okay, any other thoughts?
Yeah, hearing all your comments and knowing that we're facing a large bill with the tennis courts, no matter where we put them and how we do them, I think we should table this.
Okay.
That's my opinion. We should have, let's do one project, see how it goes. The grant's available in a year, we want to do it then.
I think the tennis courts are definitely priority.
Yeah.
All those sport courts.
Yeah, and I think pickleball is a priority too. I don't want to see them cut.
Well, they go hand in hand, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. And, that's it for me on old business. So unless anyone else has any old business, I know you have a lot of business.
The Eric show is over.
Yeah.
Good work, Eric.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Eric.
On to new business, Jamie Hub Hollow Trail.
Okay, so you all are familiar with Hub Hollow Trail. That's our new trail that starts at the top of Highland and goes down to, the base where you make a right to go to Natarara. Left is the private lake club. So basically, I don't know if any of you walked it. It's lovely this fall. It's so nice. So you go down, you make a right, you go over to Natarara, and you basically have to circle Natarara and then just turn around and come back, right? You can't make a full loop. And the county came to us. Well, we had talked to the county before any of this. We did any of this about trying to make a full loop. I'm sorry, I don't have the image with me. So, all right, I can send it to you. Basically, the county owns, as we all know, Natarara, right? 90 acres rents the section with the hotel and so forth. But the county would like to complete a full circle. So if you think about where the parking is in Highland, you'd walk down Highland towards like the houses, 150 yards, and then you'd make a left down to a trail that would come around and hook back to Natarara. So you could do a full circle. And the county, basically, it's the county's land, it's the county's project. They just want to know if we are supportive of it. Brad and I walked it last Friday as much as we could. I mean, it has to be cleared, which again, the county would do. I'd love to, and I mentioned this to Brad, I'd love to see maybe just some split rail fence along Highland, basically between the parking for the where we have the current trail to where this new part would be, just to encourage people not to walk and basically in the middle of Highland Avenue, which we've had reports of people doing. So encourage people to be off the side of the road. We'll see about doing that, and then that's it. I just wanted to make sure that the council was in support of us working with the county to make
Jamie, one of the things that the county did say to me was they did not want us to keep that parking spot there.
Well, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, so they didn't want the parking to where it dips down to Natarara. So you know how like where our spot is right at the top of Hub Hollow, and where they're going down into to county properties like 150 yards down the road. My thought was they didn't want parking there. And that's one of the reasons I thought split rail fence would be nice, because then you can put a no parking sign there. I don't think they wanted us, or
I think they want us to remove the parking that we have there.
at the top of Highland.
At the top of Highland, because they want you to park in Natterar and walk that whole route that way.
But what does it matter? I'm sure, I'm happy to talk to them, or we can meet with them again.
Yeah,
Because I think for some people who live, maybe up on Highland, would rather do the loop starting there. I don't see the harm in keeping, we have 3 or 4 spaces up there?
Yeah, that is what, I will talk to him, but that is what, when he came in to speak with me, that was one of the things that they wanted.
I thought they didn't want us to park along the road when they dip down. They wanted us to get rid of
They
us.
didn't want us to park, I didn't realize that the parking spots were already there.
Yeah. I get it that the county, the reason the county wants to do this is they are really trying to sell Natterar right now as a destination. Totally agree. But I don't think 3 or 4 parking spots on Highland is gonna deter the majority of people from parking it, in Natterar, and that being, so.
I will talk to him again
Okay,
about
that'd be
it
great.
and see what.
Isn't it our trail, why would they have saleable parking for our own trail?
Well, they don't, but basically what they're kind of saying, like, if we do this for you, we'd like you, that's my. Right, exactly. So hopefully without much pushback. Who were you talking to again at the county?
I was talking to the actual, is his name
Mike.
Dan?
Oh, Dan,
The director,
Oh,
the
okay.
parks director, he came in to visit me, so.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that, Tom would be, Chino, is that it?
Yeah.
Chino, yeah. I think he'd be okay with it. Anyway, let's have a follow-up conversation of just following up with
Okay.
the county, and I feel like we explain what we're talking about, they'll be understanding. I'm sure we can work it in.
Thanks.
So that's it. So having walked this trail a few times, I'm excited for the town.
That sounds great.
Very good. Any other new business items?
Thank you.
Seeing none, miscellaneous discussion, we have a special use permit application for some additional days of filming. They apparently did not finish filming the movie at Blair's Inn, and they're looking for an additional 2 days. Discussion. Nancy, do you have anything to say on that?
I do not, they just, exactly what you said. I don't know if Anthony wants to say anything.
Just name and address.
Anthony Willow, 185 Main Street, Gladstone. So they essentially wanted to do a few retakes. The problem that we're running into is that the film industry is very dynamic, and this process is not. And it's not as if they need both days, they just don't know which one. And obviously, if we miss a day, we're coming back. So it's, generally speaking, it's for retakes for shots that didn't come out perfectly, essentially.
Do they need the same duration of time? Is it a shorter window? Do they start later and earlier?
How they described it is that it's just the flexibility of, they can be done in 5 hours. It could be just in the morning, and it doesn't take 2 days. It could be at the later portion of the second day. It's just really the flexibility, essentially. But it's obviously less intensity for what they're looking to retake.
I actually don't know. I don't know if anyone does. How did it go? Did we conform to everything that we requested? Everyone, residents were happy?
Did we get any phone calls?
I have not received any phone calls regarding that.
One phone call.
And that's usually a small test. You'll know if there's problems.
I didn't hear anything, right? So you said you got a phone call there? Positive, negative,
Somebody,
indifferent?
saw the lights early in the morning.
You wanna know what it
What's
was?
all about and why you're allowing that. So they allowed it. Use permit. If you have an issue next time, come to the meeting.
Okay.
And he was not arrested.
And you're adhering to all the conditions previously agreed to?
Yes.
With the approval?
No, on this application, there's one change I'd like to see, and we put a 6 a.m. start time, not 5:30.
I thought
I
that,
thought
we
did
changed,
that.
we changed that last time.
It was, I
Does the
simply
res-
put the exact same application back, just so you know, you're looking
The-
at the exact same.
But the resolution,
But the resolution.
I think the resolution does say 679.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does.
I think it does.
so,
And it would certainly abide by that.
see, yeah, as long as we have all the same components from the original resolution.
Okay, the resolution actually
It
says
says 7.
7.
It's later.
I thought it was 6 o'clock,
On the initial one, it was 6. This one says 7.
Why?
well, we can change that.
Yeah, we can change that before we do that. 6
6,
right now.
yeah, 6 would certainly.
I was on the phone for half an hour last time with somebody from the production company. It's asking me, well, I don't understand, will you please explain why we can come to 4:30 in the morning? You got this at the time, and make it 6.
It's a resolution.
We can change that to 6.
I said, you seem not to understand, you're using easement or someone else's.
No, I don't, I'm gonna make myself a note.
But we're not looking for consensus because we have a resolution.
That's correct.
And so 7 to 8 then is what you're looking at this time, because I think it was like, what was it, like 6 to 9 last time?
I think the application, I think it shows 6 to 8 exactly,
Yeah.
so they're looking for a 6 o'clock start time.
Where,
It should be on the first page.
Well, it says
she, you know what
It
she
says
did?
7 to 8.
They
Oh,
picked,
oh.
yeah, from 7 to 8 PM, with the crew arriving between 5:30 and 7.
Oh, there you
And
go.
the crew
Okay, so it's
departing
showing
between 8
shoot
and
times
9.
with the full span, so it
Yeah.
would be the same as before, which
It's-
is 6 o'clock is the start, whether
Right.
they're shooting or driving, it's not at 2 o'clock.
So 6 to 8.
Till 6.
What do you say?
I'm gonna say 6 to 9, because they're saying possibly the crew departs by 9 o'clock,
Yeah, originally I think it was 5:30 to 9:30, and we
Right.
and we
heard
changed,
that on the
right.
design.
So I will change that to 6 to 9.
Okay.
And this holiday season, it's the dates, so do we check if there's any other activities going on out there? Like,
Oh, I have, and there are not.
because
Obviously, most important the nannies and,
yeah,
they're not. And obviously, they acquiesce to
Okay.
allowing access.
okay.
All right, very good. You know what we're gonna do on that? Yep. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Anthony, for coming tonight.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
All right, moving on, reading and approval of minutes. Regular meeting November 12th, motion and second, please.
So moved.
Discussion? Roll call, please, Nancy.
Eric, you have to abstain from these.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, yeah, I'm sorry.
So you can't-
Yeah.
I'm like, wait.
Someone else has to
Yeah,
second the motion.
Can you,
Second,
thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome. I just didn't
Good
want.
catch. I'm reading it too, like I was here.
Did you think you were here too?
like, I was awfully quiet this meeting. That's good.
Star of this meeting.
You attended once you got
You
here.
built it all up for
Do
this.
you want me to start roll call?
Roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Abstain.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sueda,
Yes.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Let's move on to resolutions. I suggest that we do a consent vote for 203-24 through 208-24. Let's skip 209-24 and then 212-24.
I'm gonna pull 203, please.
Okay, so let's make it 204 through 208 and then 212.
So moved.
Second.
Nancy, discussion?
Nope.
Nancy, give the roll call, please.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sueda,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Okay, let's do 203-24, resolution to open public meetings of the mayor and council for the year 2025. Motion and second, please.
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion.
I noticed that the December 22nd, that's a Monday, actually. And also I was wondering if there was potential possibly to move that meeting to the 16th. That's getting really close to Christmas.
It wasn't, she should have had Monday on there because we do, if you look, one of the other meetings was moved to Wednesday.
Right.
And the reason why we didn't do the 16th was because then you're going 2 weeks, and then we need to do as close to the end of the year for any bills and anything like that, for everything that's towards the close to the end of the year. So if we did the 16th, we were going like the 2 weeks in between.
Okay,
And then I know this year, the 17th worked just because of the way
Right.
the holidays
Right.
fell, so we had to do it then. But because we were able to do it the Monday that week, I tried to do it as close to the end of the year, as late
I'd rather
as we
do it that
possibly
Monday
can.
than the Friday before.
right,
Julie, historically, we found that we do need a meeting as close to the end of the year as possible.
okay. So but we're not looking at like the 29th instead, like we'd be looking at more the 22nd.
Yeah,
Okay,
and the only reason that I do that is because that week between there and then is we do our reorg meeting
On the second.
on the
this year.
second,
Okay.
second of each year, so that would give us, it's just too much doing a reorg meeting and having a meeting done at the
Okay.
same time.
okay, so but then it will be a Monday.
Yes, it will be
Okay.
on Monday, and I will
Okay.
make sure that that is marked
Okay.
on the resolution when we
Okay.
do that.
You're gonna have to like send out a half dozen emails to some of us, for Monday, not Tuesday.
Yes, I will. By the end of next year, yes. And then there is another meeting that is on a Wednesday, and that's because of when the, what would have been Veterans Day fell on the November 12th, because Veterans Day, and we're closed on Veterans Day, so that's why I did the Wednesday, to keep us, because we only have the one meeting in November next year.
Are you good?
I know.
Put it on.
Sounds right. Roll call vote, please.
I need a first and a second, we didn't get.
I know,
We did.
We did?
We did, Eric and
Oh, I
I.
moved it in the wrong. Never mind. I'm sorry. I wrote it in the wrong spot. Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Portello.
Aye.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sueda.
Aye.
Council President Sweeney.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel. Aye.
Okay. Very good. Sorry, I lost my page.
209.
209-24, this is for the filming, so this is gonna have to be modified. So a motion and second to approve resolution 209-24 for the additional days of filming at Blairsden with the start time at 7 a.m. and the end time at 9 p.m.
I thought the start time was gonna be 6
No,
a.m.
6
a.m.
Six.
I'm sorry,
6 a.m.
6 to 9.
6 a.m. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
So moved.
Second. Yep. Go ahead.
Roll call vote, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Portello.
Aye.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sueda.
Aye.
Council President Sweeney.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Let's move on to bill list. Does any council member have any item on the bill lists that need to be called for discussion? Hearing none, Nancy, will you please read the total amount of bills to be
$1,699,919.17.
paid? Okay, a motion and a second to approve the payment of bills.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Portello.
Aye.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sueda.
Aye.
Council President Sweeney.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to council reports. I'm not gonna read the list. Council members, their various committees and chairs, would you advise if you have any report for this evening?
I'd like to read some just dates for rec. Why not? So the PG annual tree lighting and Santa visit is Sunday, December 8th. So, and the starts of the likely to be at the Peapack Reformed Church at 5 p.m., followed by a march to the Santa, to see Santa. And a few things why I'm bringing this up is we do have youth gym starting on Monday, December 2nd, and that's going to go through mid-April this year. So grades 5 to 12, that's from 4 to 5 p.m. Grades 1 to 4, that's from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then Sundays, it's 1 to 4 for all grades. So, if you know kids in town, take advantage of that because it's nice to have a place, a facility when it's cold out and have to bring the kids to. And attendance is sometimes the attendance is up and down, so we keep the program going if there's good attendance. And then just wanted to mention the adult open gym, that's weekdays, as noted, and Sunday access begins on December 8th. So that's coming up from 10 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. And that's it.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Jill, quick question, I'm not sure if this is the right timing, the lighting in there is,
Oh,
half of it is.
We are working on that. Brad is the lighting in the gym.
Yes.
We are working
Okay.
on doing
I
that.
know
Brad
it's
says
spoken.
we have lighting in the gym.
Yes, we have it.
Brad.
What's wrong with it? That's what it's out.
It's just, when you walk into the right, that side of the court, it's, I'd say a quarter of it's lighting's off, and especially
The
when you play
lighting is
basketball.
Is
depth
going
perception and so
one
forth.
by one. It's less
Yeah.
and less light in there,
Yeah,
so
it's very poor.
It's not a bulb issue, I think.
it is a bulb issue.
It could be baluster issue, it could be different issues, but regardless,
But
I
it's
think
getting
it's,
up there and doing it.
especially with Burrsville coming in and other towns, it's just not the look we want.
It's in good hands with Brad.
Perfect, thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, anyone else? Counselor?
No report, thank you.
No report.
Okay. I am going to combine the mayor's report and the mayor's executive summary, so bear with me, it's going to take a number of items. Let's start with action items from tonight's meeting. Eric, they're both by you, both tennis coaches and DC got that. Okay. Next, I'd like to just briefly review our progress on the mayor's punch list. Okay? I'm going to read down the items, and I'll tell you where the ones that are in progress or have been accomplished and the ones that we still need to address, and the individual who's assigned to it or who took it. So tennis court replacement, Eric, you're on that pot. That's good. Longevity buyout was me. I have not addressed that yet. Jill, noise ordinance,
I have to address that
reminder,
stuff.
okay? John's signage ordinance. Julie, volunteer of the year. You were going to handle that?
Mhm.
Okay, no, okay. John, Comcast, which I think I need to help you on. Or
Yeah, we
on.
need to set a meeting.
Julie, I know Nancy's been working on this for business permits, so it's really Nancy and yourself. Eric and Mark have been active on the park house conversion, and that RFP went out, it was advertised. Jill, you were gonna look into a park maintenance or garden club idea to see if that's feasible.
Yep.
Okay. I've been working with Brad and the municipal building front restoration, which I'm sure you've seen how much better it's looking. Sergio, I know Nancy has worked on this, employee evaluations, you were gonna consult with her on this and follow up on that, please. The server decommissioning and cloud implementation is well on its way, and we will no longer have a physical server in-house. Some carryovers, Eric, I know this is on hold, but the rebranding with the road signs, we're holding on that till Highlands, yeah. And I worked on Highlands when I was at Atlantic City. Eric, you addressed the Sarah Kalak, that's going to auction, December 5th. Good job there. Jamie, you've been hot on trails, good job. Nancy and Jill and staff on the updated website, I did follow up with Nancy and that should be rolling out, what, in about 2 weeks, right? In the next 2 weeks, we hope.
Hopefully before the end of the
It
year.
has stalled and it's been taking, honestly, it's taking too long. Property and asset cleanup, I was gonna work with staff, I have not started that one yet. The railroad property cleanup in Gladstone, I met with representatives from NJ Transit. They sat on it for a while and they called me and said, well, can you give us a list of what you want done? So I'm working on that now and I'll have that to them by next week. So this is where we stand on the mayor's punch list for everybody. So a very soft kick in the butt if you haven't started yours yet, get it moving. We want to try to get all these items done.
Quick question, the front of the building rehab with the removal of that, can you let me know how much that costs the town? Just, I had a resident reach out and ask about it.
So far, it's been done all under budgets. So I don't know the number of what
Okay.
it costs. It's the number of hours of employees out front.
Right.
Plus the disposal of concrete.
Okay.
So not much.
And DPW did all the work.
Yeah.
That's what-
Yeah, we haven't, but Brad's gonna need to bring a contractor in to repair the foundation of the building and put a window. And a few other things, maybe he's looking into some lighting as well.
Like over the door lighting or? what kind
No,
of lighting?
light stanchions like in the hall.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Realistically, that was so far, wild ass guess, we have, probably $7,000 into it.
Okay. That actually reminds me, Nancy, I'm sorry to kind of jump around a little bit, but, have we had any, I haven't had an update from Bill about, bids on the project, the crosswalk?
Brad is working on that because it was under where we had to go out for bid, so he's working on getting the quotes right now.
Okay, great. Because I would like, as I've mentioned in previous meetings, to get a couple of those lamp posts. If we ended up digging up that, the sidewalk in front of Coca-Cola and so forth, it'd be nice to get a couple of lamp posts that match the park along Main Street, Peapack. I think it would look really sharp.
I'm waiting for a new price to come back on those.
Okay. Yeah, keep me in the loop. Thank you, Brad.
That would be
If
nice.
you have a
Oh, it looks so pretty, honestly.
All right, let me move on. I'd like to discuss the League of Municipalities on the conference that I went to last week and give some takeaways. I've gone to this thing for a number of years. I haven't gone every year, but this year was perhaps one of the most good. I know Julie was there. Good job, Julie. I know Brad was there. Good job, Brad. Nancy had an emergency last minute, so she did not make it. For those of you who haven't been, it is a spectacle. It's 18,000 people from all over New Jersey. It's a great opportunity to network. In my case, to talk with other mayors, get some ideas. And there's also roundtables or classes that you go to. I went to 5. Okay, some honestly are useless. Some are very good. Okay, and anybody who's been cannot disagree with that assessment. And when I say not very good, the ones that are not very good, I tend to find that they're given by contractors. Okay, there's a subject, and they bring a contractor to talk about it, who's an expertise in it, ends up being a sales job, and which I don't appreciate. But I went to one on budget auditing, I went to one on affordable housing, I went to resolutions committee, which I'll talk about in a second. And to those of you who have not yet been, I know you tried to go this year, but it's worthwhile going at least once or twice during your term. Okay, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to meet, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. So that was a recap. One thing in particular that I was involved in is, along with the 5 other mayors of the Somerset Hills, we sponsored a resolution. Okay, it holds no power, but it helps. And what that means is we sponsored a resolution supported by the New Jersey League of Municipalities to combat auto theft in New Jersey, because we have an issue, not so much in Peapack And Gladstone. We're very fortunate and lucky here, and I hope we remain that way, but in some of our neighboring towns. And it could easily spread here as well. So we sponsored a resolution looking to get higher government support, that is state and federal support, to help New Jersey, which by default would help us with the other theft. And it is rampant, and it's bad. It's up. One of the things I went to was a mayor's luncheon. Some of it I didn't agree with what they did. Some of it, the state police, the top cop in New Jersey, Colonel from the state police, gave a very engaging talk, and it was well worth it. So that's a recap of the league. I brought back some things for the league that I'm going to hand out to all of you very quickly. Eric, I handed you yours already. I did bring back some goodies for everybody. I will not read every one of them. John Sweeney, something on affordable housing you will find useful. Brad, these are for you. Okay, a cup. This is only one for you. This is about something that caught my eye. Mobile rust control, where they spray the bottoms of the trucks to prevent rusting. It's a work. I thought it was something to look into for a service for both our trucks after salting and fire equipment. So you can come up with this.
Thank you.
Okay, Jamie, I picked up a couple of things here. I know you and I have talked over the years about electric vehicles. And by the way, I'm not doing this to show off what I saw there. I'm doing this because committees are going to turn over next year. I want you all to be aware of some of the ideas I caught, so you can continue them through when you take over next year, for those of you who are. Electric vehicles, there's a lot of opportunity there, and I would ask you to pass this on to environmental about native plants to use when you replant things in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah,
This is an organization, and remember we did an ordinance to rezone Pfizer earlier this year, and we specified native plants. So I thought you'd find it interesting.
Nice, thank you.
Okay, this is for the chief. Okay, Nancy, a couple things for you. I know we shot down the idea of scanning last year and having that storage system, although I found that the state provides scanning services for us.
It's not us.
I don't know if it's worth it. I also found another firm that's affiliated with the state called Access New Jersey.
Yeah, they're not. but whatever, but I will look into it, but they're not, the state's scanning program is not.
Okay, so I don't know if you wanted to look into these.
Yep.
Also, I know the Open Public Records Act laws have changed, and they have an updated website on that.
Yeah.
Okay, now, this is for everybody, so if you have an interest in any of these, I'd ask you to take the brochure and look into it and see what it offers. We, in Peapack And Gladstone, we did a 5-year moratorium on cannabis. Okay, that's gonna be coming up soon, and we need to reevaluate that and see if we want to continue it or not. There was an organization there, which is the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission, which is a state agency, and they are, I don't want to say they advocate for cannabis, but they manage cannabis in New Jersey. And if anybody is interested in that.
What does it mean we have a moratorium on cannabis?
When the law was passed to allow making cannabis legal in New Jersey, we put the moratorium in Peapack And Gladstone not to allow cannabis.
When
We
you opted out.
We opt out.
Opted out.
And the opt-out is for 5 years. You can opt in at any time you want,
Right.
but it's a 5-year opt-out.
Okay. I thought this was very useful in case anybody's run into it, even as a little magnet, you can put it on your board. This is about mosquito and tick-borne diseases.
I'll do that.
Okay. Does everybody know what, there's a 211 in New Jersey? Does everybody know what 211 is? So 211 is if you need assistance personally, food, utilities, finances, healthcare, children's services, you can dial 211 and speak to somebody. And I'm going to address, I'm going to hold this one, I'm going to hold this for 1 second, okay, because I want to talk about that more. Grants management, there's actually a department in the state that helps you do grants. Shockingly, they never tell anything about this until you go down there and they try shoving trinkets in your hand and you walk down the aisles. But there's if we ever have a desire to explore grants, and grants are all over the place, as we all know, this is a resource. You go to grantsnj.gov, and there's a reference for grants.
I feel like Nancy should have that, so just so we.
Okay. The New Jersey League of Municipalities tries. I'll just say that. But in case anybody's not familiar with them, these are QR codes to the benefits they offer, how to stay connected with legislative services, and some other things if you want to explore NJLM a little bit more. Okay. So here's something I would like to see us add to our mayor's punch list in 2026. It is the 250th anniversary of the United States. And this is an organization called Revolution New Jersey that is looking to make a splash come 2026 and commemorate this event. And they're looking for towns to participate. So if anybody has an interest in taking this on and running with it amongst the council, there you go. Okay? This one's open to everybody here, plus those in the audience. Does anybody shop at Jersey Gardens? The one down in Elizabeth? No? All right, I guess forget it then. Elizabeth, Economic Development Commission had a booth there, and they were handing out coupon books to Jersey Gardens. So if you have a desire to go to Jersey.
Never heard of it.
Okay? What?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
It's in Elizabeth.
You never
Heard
heard
of
of
Elizabeth?
it?
Heard of Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's right by IKEA and the airport.
Oh, yeah. IKEA.
Oh,
I played them in
yes.
football, so.
You go to, it's like a tax office, isn't it?
That's a big mall.
Yes, the mall. Okay, again, NJLM, then members benefits, if you have any interest in exploring that, I have a brochure on that. Remember I talked about, and last year I had you all pass a resolution on energy tax receipts? And we passed the resolution and sent it to the state. If you'd like a little history on it or want to know more about it, this is just a one-pager.
That seems like a John thing.
All right. So one interesting thing I found there was Airbnb had a table there. And Airbnb is advocating, because they know it's going to kill them if they don't, for short-term rental regulation. Now, we all know we have a hotel tax in town, with one hotel already collecting tax. And possibly in the future, there could be a second advisor. I don't know if this is something we really want to consider. It has some merits. But maybe we should have some regulation regarding short-term rentals and impose a tax on them, just like we do hotel rooms. Something to think about.
I'll take that. It's something to discuss with the land use board.
Okay. If anybody has an interest in seeing the resolutions that got passed by the NJLM Resolutions Committee, including the one that I sponsored along with the other mayors. I have a copy of the resolutions if anybody has an interest in reading what they passed all, just so you know, which means they now move on. But if you have an interest, I have that. This is a legislative guide, again, another NJLM piece, where they talk about what they do to advocate for towns like us. And they do, okay? Maybe they're not the most effective at everything they legislate on, but they do try to back us up, and I do appreciate that. The last thing I wanted to discuss, oh wait, what is it? Oh, this, in case anybody's interested, is everybody aware that there's an idle law in New Jersey? You cannot idle your car for more than 3 minutes, and this is a, look at it, they laminated it. Isn't that cool? So you can keep it and reference it, but this is a
Very
card
cool.
that summarizes the laws about idling in town. Because I know people idle at the post office.
Like lamination.
I like lamination. The last thing that I think has great value, and I'd love to see one of us run with it, is this is an organization called SustainableNewJersey.com. Okay, I was walking around and you know, you wear this name badge and people had this tag below called certified hanging from below their town. I'm saying, what does that mean? Certified nuts? Something like that. Well, no, their town is certified sustainable. Okay, and in looking through the brochure, they have a point system. And in looking through the brochure, I was looking through all the things that gave you points towards being a sustainable community. We've accomplished quite a number of these. And I'm really wondering, is this an admirable
We've tried for
trait?
years to do that.
There are some
It's really
things-
challenging to get enough points, and then the points only last for the year, and the EC, I mean, I've been on EC for like 12 years now, and for the first maybe 5 years I was on it, we tried every year to do it, and we never were able to do it.
Okay,
So
but-
it's challenging for
but
town of
this
this
is
size.
beyond an EC thing. This is really a town thing, because it involves things beyond.
Okay,
environmental.
I know, I'm just saying it's, what,
Can I
this
say
one?
that? Yeah.
Okay.
It's harder than it looks, I'm just saying.
Okay, so.
Yeah, it's,
I picked
know-
up the
I
same
know it's
one.
not hard, I know it's hard,
It's different than the green,
but there
green
could
team.
be.
Oh, yeah, this is
Yeah.
like a whole,
Because I remember the green team was nearby.
no, this is like a state designation, is,
Oh.
and it was hard.
Is there a
I mean, maybe
benefit
it's
to
changed.
to the borough for obtaining certification?
What was that?
Is there a benefit to the borough for obtaining it?
Other than you get named as a sustainable community, none that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, I think how it used to, I feel like you got certain grant access, maybe that's not how it is anymore, but.
I didn't catch that when I met them.
I'll look
Anyway,
into
It's
it.
just-
you know,
Well, it says benefit.
Before I
It
get
says
this to
benefits
you,
of participation.
before I get this to you, there was one last takeaway from the NJLM that I'd like to share with you. And that is there were a lot of organizations down there providing health and human services to people. Okay, besides trying to shove more pens in your hand. Some of them have value, and I have a couple of things I'm going to hand you off to the chief for him to consider for his department. But we've had, unfortunately, a history of suicide in Peapack. Not a lot, but we've had a number of them since I've been on the council, and it is very unfortunate. And there are some other things that are available to our residents that are provided by state or private organizations towards better health and better living and healthier living. And while I do not believe that the borough of Peapack Gladstone should be in the business of getting involved in people's lives, I do think it is very important that we always remain a resource to our residents. Okay, a resource in case somebody's in need, and we're prepared to point them in the right direction. That's why this caught my eye, because a number of the items in the Sustainable New Jersey have to do with people's wellness. Okay, we're approaching that. Look, I was on a first aid squad for 11 years. I saw my share of suicides and depression, especially during the upcoming holidays. So, and it's very unfortunate. But any thoughts going forward that we could do to make sure our residents have the right tools or the right people to reach to get to the right tools is very important to me. And I would hope it's important to all of you. I can look at all of you, know it is. So that is something I would like to see us perhaps get better at.
There'd be information on the website.
Right,
That's what I was
incorporate into the
just
website.
I was the website, but also the newsletter. Okay. I don't think our residents. I guess I'm a resident. I don't know half the stuff that's available to us. Okay.
we do, the county, the county has a big resource for all of that stuff. When they send us all of that information, I do have it posted up on the website, and we send it out with future notified so that people are aware. They do a lot of, and our Board of Health does also do a lot of things along those lines. that we do try and send out, so that.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that communication is getting out as good as it could.
Well, the
I
problem
know
is that,
the PG Notify it does, but I'm not sure how many people in our Spanish community down on Main Street read PG Notify. So those are things I think we could be better at. I'm not saying we're bad at them, by the way. I think we communicate with our residents
well,
better than some other towns.
I will say, when the county sends out stuff, they send it out in both languages. They send it out in English and Spanish, and we do send out both of them.
But it's
We don't, when we send out, and the Board of Health doesn't, but when the county does send something out, they do send it out in both languages.
Okay, but it is something I'd like to see us act on. And again, I'm handing a lot of these errands off to the chief. Children and Family Services, illness in children refund, and speaking and then the suicide issue, that I'm handing off to him. So that's for you, Eric. And that is my NJLM report.
Thank you.
Anybody gonna see Kingsley? He's away.
He's away.
You will, I don't know if you all saw your email in the last couple hours. We got a very nice thank you letter. I'm saying this for the record, I don't think those in the audience. We got a very nice thank you letter from these Minnesota Hills for the approval of the application for them to use prayers and fundraiser. I thought that was very nice. I'm going to take a step back. I think in your package, Jamie, I had this first. Oh no, I have it on the back there. I'm going backwards. I had one more thing to bring to environmental. Okay?
You get a lot of swag.
In the past, we used to epoxy on our storm drains a sign that said, "No dumping drains to river." Whenever Brad and his team replaces a storm drain, now it's cast into it. It says drains to river, but it's not very visible. Okay, so I want to just hand these two up to you. These are actually made in Hackettstown, New Jersey. They're $7 to $9 each. They get epoxied. I don't know if we want to consider putting these back on storm drains again. So they're visible, but if you want to bring it to the community, it's good. And it's stainless steel. It doesn't rust. You have to epoxy it on, or you can drill a hole and mount it back. Okay, anyway, everyone saw the letter on the email from the Museum of Sunset Hills, and I just want to take us a consensus or a straw poll. I got a call from Sid over at Bill Silver's. In the past, limited, we have done a resolution for them when their teams have won an event. I did too myself when I was council president. And he was asking their boys soccer team just won the state
Championship.
9-state title. And I was just wanted to get a consensus. Right? Do you have any issue doing a resolution for that?
No, I like
No,
it.
it's nice.
But Berger,
Yeah, I
pretty
was just gonna bring that
successful
up.
fall, so we have to do for them as well.
Yes.
I mean, the football team lost in the finals, but I think.
They won the sectional, actually, they did not win the
lost
sectional.
final.
No, they won the sectional finals.
But
And you should all be like, who knows Sid Rowe?
I do.
Okay? Yeah, this is his last year. He retires in June. So you should know that. Okay? And the school brings a return to this year. That is my mayor's report.
Mayor, can I go ahead and turn with a belated report?
Yes.
And because the league reminded me, and not only is it belated, it is shameless and without any humility whatsoever. But your borough attorney at the league both achieved the diplomat certification in local government law from Mercury Center for Government Services, as well as was elected as the trustee for this Vistage, Somerset, Hunterdon, and Warren counties to the New Jersey Institute of Local Government Attorneys organization, which, like the league, does quite a bit for the benefit of all municipalities and their residents. So I get a double shaming for.
Steve, I actually owe you an apology. I was made aware that you were appointed a trustee.
No,
I should have mentioned it. My apologies.
I took it upon myself. Again, no humility.
Good job. Your job is to cover me when I miss something or cover us when I miss something.
Not a problem.
So, Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's very
Thank you for
exciting.
serving on our behalf.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for the privilege and honor.
The rest of the council should know that Steve's been very, Steve and his firm have been very active in dealing with addressing the round four obligation. John and I were on the call with him earlier today. Okay, that's it for that. Before I go to public comments on agenda items, we do have an executive session. Apparently, we do need some counselor advised us that we need some further clarity on that, so we are not going to do item 15 executive session tonight. So we will adjourn the meeting after public comments on agenda items. So that is off the agenda. Yep. Public comments, agenda items only, microphone, name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Tembarge, and I live at 168 Main Street. I'm here about the pickleball courts. Love pickleball, love tennis. Love anything that can get us outside with the community, with the kids, with older people. In fact, I was thinking you four against you four, playing pickle would be so much fun. The only concern I have is the noise level. And if you are anywhere near, do any of you play pickleball? Yes. If you are near a pickleball court consistently, the level a pickleball makes versus a tennis ball, versus a kickball, versus a softball is dramatic. And there are ways, and I hope when you decide, when you develop this, that you'll consider maybe putting in some form of sound barriers or some sort of vegetation. But basically, a pickleball, the motion or the sound comes from the motion of the plastic ball hitting the paddle. So unlike a rubber tennis ball, you've got plastic now hitting a paddle. That's what makes the noise. I think the noise comes in at like a 70 decibel, which is comparable to like city traffic. And when that's going back and forth consistently, it's like a staccato, impulsive sound. So I'm saying on just my behalf, on his behalf, on Tom Day in the funeral home, I also own a business, and my neighbor next door, I love living where we live. I've lived here for almost 30 years, maybe more than 30 years. And I love seeing all the improvement. My only concern is when and if you put that in, that you consider us as being neighbors and business people. Because if I have to open up the doors of my studio and all we hear in the fall, spring, and summer, because my doors are open, my windows are open, we get fresh air in there, it's gonna drive us crazy. So it's just something I'm asking you guys to consider. And I know that other towns have had issues with this, and there's been a lot of issues with neighbors, so just something to consider.
Okay.
4 against 4.
Eric, you'll
I need
report
to-
back.
Yes.
Thank you. Actually, I was thinking the tennis courts up here would be too noisy.
Good evening, everybody. John Kelly, 172 Main Street, next door. Same issue is the noise of pickleball, but I'll add a little dimension to it. And I really applaud, I've really learned a lot. You guys do a lot of stuff that I had no idea. You're really doing a lot, and I appreciate that as a resident, just for the record. I'm sure you don't get that a lot. You probably get a lot of people complaining about everything, but the one thing I would add to everything is, you know, you've done homework, talked to towns, talked to people, courts, all that noise, and that's great. The fact of the matter is that is what comes after. And I own a house in Lavallette, New Jersey, who has done this about 4 years ago, essentially. Moved the pickleball courts to where the tennis courts were. There were 6 tennis courts and others, but they started with these 6. The noise differentiation between tennis and pickleball is mind-boggling. It is very different, and the residents are really shocked at how much different it is. But the most important thing is that those courts are used literally sunrise to sundown every day, and there's a line. And so the tennis courts, and I use tennis courts occasionally, they're not that well used in comparison to what I believe the pickleball will be here. It'll be all the time. And in all the work you've done, the research you've done, and you guys are very intelligent people and you do this right, I'm sure. Do a little more sound research, because you'll get this stuff in and all of a sudden you got a sound problem and you got to do something about it, because it will be distracting, even for the police and whoever's here. So it is a major piece of the change that will occur. The pickleball will be very proud. I want the lifetime, can't even get a court. And it's something that should be considered in, you're doing all these research things and you've done a great job, the service level and all that stuff. All great, thank you very much. But the noise thing is something that needs to also be considered, and fairly significantly too. It's not minor. So.
That's why we're in public, so we can get this kind of information.
Yes, so I give the Lavalette in Chadwick, my house is in Chadwick. We converted like 8 courts to more pickleball courts, where I forget how, I wasn't involved in it, but all of a sudden I know people, and I don't live near it myself, but my sister does, and it drives me crazy. I mean, it absolutely drives me crazy. There's the police there, and the people, it's very, very distracting, especially, in the summertime when everybody's down there, so. But then again, thank you very much for what you do. I just want to add one other comment, and it had to do with the Historical Society doing something for 250 years or something like that. So I'm a board member of the Harding Township Historical Society. We're doing the same thing, and there may be some, things that we could do together. They're doing stuff on anybody who is a DAR or SAR or Civil War person, combining all that into it. There's families around that have that. And I can put you in touch with them, which is 2 towns away. So, but again, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Rich Ramsey, 3 Cherry Street. Thank you. I also want to thank you for all the diligent work you're doing investigating the tennis court options. I've been a frequent user. I'm very happy living here for 5 years to have those available to us. I've recently been going to Chester, Mendham, or Bernardsville to play tennis. What caught my attention was the mention of this reinforced concrete with a rubberized surface. If I'm right, Liberty Corner has 2 such courts, and there may be 2 additionally in Baskin Ridge. From a player, a user's standpoint, I would urge you to really consider opinions on that surface. Right? Most tennis tournaments use either hard court, clay, or grass. It's always been that way. This would be yet a different surface. I've played on them, and I play a lot of tennis, and it matters if you're serious about the game. The subtleties matter, and the playability of that surface is very different. It's very different. The ball doesn't bounce very well. You can't slide on the court. I'm only a sample size of 1. I would probably drive 7 miles to any of the neighboring towns to play on a hard court asphalt before I played on that surface. So please keep that in mind when you make a decision. From a cost of ownership standpoint, no doubt it has lots of merit over the long term. But from a user experience standpoint, please do take that into consideration and make your decision.
That's a great point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Last chance, anybody want popcorn? Okay, any other items, Council members? Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for, going to be a second, our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 17th at 7 o'clock p.m. If we have no other further business, a motion to close the adjourned meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Wait, before you all go, a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving.
Oh, hey,
to you and
okay.
your families.
To you guys as well.
Thank you.